Good evening, everybody. You're watching the Just Keep Up podcast, where we're one step ahead. I'm Kurt Johnson. This is Pete Zindros. We're excited to be back to you guys here on this Monday. We have a great show planned for you guys tonight. We have a lot to talk about, lots to get into, guys. It's going to be a massive show. Our featured story tonight, we're going to be talking all about Patrick Mahomes, okay? And the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost at a chance to three-peat against the Philadelphia Eagles. They got absolutely demolished 22-40. The final score doesn't even indicate how bad this game was. The Kansas City Chiefs got absolutely destroyed, which totally went against my prediction. I had them winning the game. I actually had it flip-flopped the way that the game went, but the Kansas City absolutely got rocked. So we're going to be talking all about it. We're going to be discussing what this means for Patrick Mahomes' legacy. We're going to be discussing what this means for the Kansas City Chiefs moving forward and what this means for Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts as well. Where does he rank in the quarterback ranking amongst his peers now that he got this Super Bowl? So he's officially a winner now. So we're going to be talking all about it, guys. It's going to be a great show. Before we get into it, I'm going to remind you to like and subscribe, help us to impact and to reach as many people as possible. With in addition to that, guys, follow me on YouTube and Rumble, guys, at Kurt's Philosophy, if you are interested in the world's deepest, darkest secrets. Pete, bro, do you have anything before we get into the show?
No, I don't.
All right, so we're gonna jump right into it, guys. So again, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Philadelphia Eagles the Eagles beat the Chiefs 40-22, and Mahomes looked like a shell of himself. He wasn't good at all. I mean, he was flat out terrible. The whole team was terrible, not prepared to show up and not prepared to three-peat, and the Eagles absolutely smacked them, bro. So what's your take on this Super Bowl?
I was right. The Eagles' desire for revenge beat the Chiefs' desire to three-peat. But I was a fool for even saying the score was going to be so close. Like I overestimated Patrick Mahomes. He really is a fraud, man. Like this was the biggest choke in NFL history. This is even worse than the Falcons choking, considering how much history there was on the line. They had a chance to three-peat, and then they just come in there, play like this, and Patrick Mahomes has the worst game in his whole career. Like he was so bad that at halftime he had 33 total yards, basically two pick sixes, and they had a donut on the scoreboard, 0 points. And mind you, bro, they were down 24-0. And like I said, he basically had two pick sixes. So he was responsible for 14 of those points. So it's not like you could say, well, their defense was getting shitted on or everyone else was selling them. No, this was on Patrick Mahomes. Like, see, Jaden Daniels, for example, he got blown out 2 weeks ago by the Eagles. But the eye test showed us that Daniels was not the reason for that. He was playing well. The team had 5 turnovers, and none of them were on him. The defense couldn't get a stop. The eye test showed us that wasn't Jaden Daniels' fault. But watching this game, you could see it was Patrick Mahomes' fault. Even the stat sheet will back it up, bro. He had 33 yards and two picks by halftime. Now, he finished the game with 3 touchdowns. He didn't throw another pick. He had a little over 200 yards, but, bro, it was all garbage time stats. When the game actually mattered, those were his stats: 33 yards and basically two pick sixes. Like, it was just terrible.
Okay, and then my last question before I give my take, I'm very interested to know what's your choice for attire for?
My choice for attire,
Yeah, why you got the Brady jersey on?
the Brady jersey. Oh, because I wanted to remind everybody that there can only be one GOAT. There can only be one. And it will forever be Tom Brady after this game.
Okay. All right. So I to be honest, bro, I couldn't disagree with you more. Okay. This game is not on Patrick Mahomes. If anything, this makes Mahomes even greater. Like think about how bad this team looked. And I know people are going to automatically put it on Patrick Mahomes, but if you know football at all, you know that this is a line of scrimmage game. whichever team wins the line of scrimmage is probably going to win the game offensively and defensively. Offensively, the offensive line was absolutely terrible. That's exactly what they were. They were offensive to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And on a broader aspect, they were offensive to everyone that was there, everyone that was watching, the billions that were watching the game. They were absolutely atrocious. This Kansas City offensive line, they all need to get shipped to Abu Dhabi, and bad things need to happen to them because they could not have played a worse football game. The Philadelphia Eagles did not blitz one time. The Philadelphia Eagles, I'm going to repeat that, they did not blitz one time. They generated 10 pressures and they sacked Patrick Mahomes 6 times. If that doesn't tell you how bad they didn't call one blitz the entire Super Bowl. That's only happened 8 other times in NFL history that a team didn't blitz for the entire game. Okay, so that goes to show you how bad their offensive line was, and then their defensive line. They didn't generate any pressure at all. The only sacks that they got on Jalen Hurts was holding the ball, and he had time to clip his nails and eat a burger and call his wife and reserve dinner reservations for after the game, and then they got to him. That's how much time that he had to throw the football, right? And so the only thing that Kansas City did well was stop the run, which I will give them that. They did stop the run, but they didn't do much else. Okay. And this game is a line of scrimmage game, and Philadelphia won the line of scrimmage. That's the first thing. That's the reason why it's truly not on Mahomes. And then you look at when they could finally muster something up. When it was 17-0, I still said I'm still like you can't bet against Mahomes right now. I mean, at 17-0, they're getting ready to drive down the field, and D Hop just drops a ball, and he had massive space. He would have caught the ball at the 50-yard line, and he had at least another 15, 20 yards before he was touched, let alone he probably maybe even could have scored. Who knows? Right. And so that changes the entire game. Travis Kelce had 2 drops, one crucial drop on second down, but he had another drop in the game as well. We saw that the Kansas City Chiefs were about to stop them, and then Nick Bolton gets an uncharacteristic rough in the. It's just like, what are you doing, right? Like, this is the first game that I saw Kansas City play where no one looked prepared, and that shocked. I thought I would never say that. If you would have told me that Philly beat the Chiefs, I would have said, "Oh, it was because they couldn't stop the run." No, they held Saquon Barkley to what is it? What do my stats say here? They held, dude, they held Saquon Barkley to this is the Chiefs. Let's go to the Eagles rushing. They held Saquon Barkley 25 carries, 57 yards, 2.3 yards per carry. Okay, if you would have told me that he was going to average 2 yards per carry and the Eagles still win, I would have said, no, you're just crazy. Jalen Hurts must have had 500 yards. He must have went off. No, that didn't happen either. Jalen Hurts played well from start to finish, of course, but he didn't go off. He didn't go nuclear. What was the difference? It was the offensive line got completely destroyed. I mean, it wasn't even close. And then Kansas City was not prepared. I never in a million years would have thought that Kansas City would not be prepared to play in this game. And it just looks like for the first time in a long time that Andy Reid just looked like he got out schemed and he got out coached and he got outmatched. Like, a lot of this stems from coaching. Why are you come out of halftime, right? And you're running the same routes that you ran in the first half. Why isn't anyone running short routes? Why isn't anyone running inbreakers, outbreakers, slants, crosses, flats? Well, why is everyone running 15, 20-yard routes when Mahomes is getting sacked? I mean, he's getting pressured immediately off the snap. I don't get it. I don't get it. So this game, it was not on Mahomes. Mahomes did what he could, but no quarterback would have won this game. And if you tell me that no quarterback would have won this game, I don't know how it would be on Mahomes. Did Mahomes have a great game? No, of course he didn't have a great game. He didn't. He struggled. I'm not going to act like he didn't struggle. Of course he did. But quarterbacks are allowed to struggle. What this was his play caller not giving him an outlet at all. His offensive line giving him zero time. And if you look at the picks that he had, right, the first pick that he threw, the first pick that he threw, he was rushed out of the pocket. He did make a poor decision, but he was rushed out of the pocket. The second interception that he threw, he was literally bum rushed. His center was bum rushed into him, and he got hit on the throw. So this wasn't the thing where it's like Mahomes just played terrible and blah blah blah, dude. Kansas City Chiefs got rocked in every which way. The offensive line, the defensive line, the coaching, and that's what the real issue is. So, and this is the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to you. That all of that is my reason for why this isn't on Mahomes. If anything, this makes Mahomes' mystique even greater because he covered up for a lot of flaws that they had all year. To get this team to the Super Bowl, really? To get this roster? Isaiah Pacheco. Let's go to Isaiah Pacheco stats. What did Isaiah Pacheco do during this game? 3 carries, 7 yards. 3 carries, 7 yards. Okay. What did Samaje Perine do, the hero of the last game? 1 carry, 8 yards. What did Travis Kelce do, his all reliable tight end? 4 receptions, 39 yards, 2 drops. Mahomes had no help. Xavier Worthy came on in the end, but Mahomes just had no help to do anything out there. He was a one-man army by himself, and that's the reason why they lost the game. It was not on Mahomes.
Okay, let me tell you this. If you say Patrick Mahomes carried this team all year, you are wrong. You want to know why? They won 15 games this year, and guess what? He wasn't even a Pro Bowler for them. Like, how are you the quarterback of a 15-win team and you're not even elected to the Pro Bowl? That alone right there is proof that they were not winning all year because of him. They were winning because of their defense. And
Well,
when
he well he
okay, go
did.
ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, he did have what was it, 8 game winning
Yeah,
drives?
okay, I'm gonna get to that now, right? I'm gonna get to that now. Now, you're saying this isn't on Mahomes, okay? But listen, when you're supposedly the GOAT and you're the leader of the team, you got to figure out how to win games when things aren't going your way, also. Like, you can't just be called the GOAT for being down 17-13 in a regular season game against the Raiders, and then you get a one good drive in the fourth quarter to win the game. Like, you're the GOAT for that? No. Situations like these are where the real GOATs come in. What did the actual GOAT Tom Brady do? When he was down 3-28, he came back and won the game. Yes, you need the team to show up. You need a lot of things to go your way, but you also need the quarterback to do his job as well. And Patrick Mahomes throwing 2 pick sixes is not doing anything. 3 weeks ago, when Lamar Jackson turned the ball over twice, and mind you, realistically, only one of them was on him, you were blaming Lamar Jackson for the whole outcome of the game. And
Yeah.
Mahomes didn't do anything differently here. If anything, it was worse for him because he just threw two
Well,
horrible picks, and they were both basically pick sixes. So
well,
there's no way you can say Mahomes is not to blame for this at all. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, he's not the only reason why they lost, but he definitely didn't help it. He only made everything even worse, and it doesn't help when you gift them 14 points as well in the first half.
okay. Let me ask you this, because this proves my whole thing for blaming Lamar Jackson, but not blaming Patrick Mahomes. If Patrick Mahomes doesn't throw those 2 picks, does Kansas City win this game? Yes or no?
They would have had a better chance for
But
sure.
but in your humble opinion, do you think Kansas City wins the game?
I'm gonna be honest, bro. Without those 2 picks, the score is 10-0. Who knows, bro? I mean, the Chiefs have won being down 10 in their past Super Bowls as well. They did it both times against the Niners. And listen, Patrick Mahomes, this isn't the first time he's gotten blown out. Like, he got blown out against Tampa, but the eye test showed us that in that game, he wasn't to blame for it at all because he was making ridiculous throw after throw, but the guys were just dropping it. So that one you could say was not on him. But the eye test for this one shows us, yes, he did not do his job. He was just as bad as everybody else in that football field was. He does not get a pass for this.
Okay, so I mean I disagree. I mean, if anything, this game went worse than the Tampa Bay one, because going into the game they were missing 3 starting offensive linemen when they faced Brady and the Bucks in the Super Bowl. So that's understandable. This one is even more of a blindside to Mahomes because they've been a bad offensive line all year, and then they moved Tooney to right tackle. uh, and I'm sorry, left tackle, and they've been playing well. And then this game, they just get absolutely destroyed. For you to say that Kansas City maybe has a chance to win this game without Mahomes' two picks, you're 100% incorrect, bro. I mean, you could watch the game. Kansas City couldn't move the ball. They couldn't move the ball. Like these guys had 30 yards at halftime, one first down, the first down, the first pass of the game, nothing else. Like, and you're trying to tell me that they would have had a chance. They wouldn't have had a chance if Mahomes doesn't if he doesn't throw the interceptions. They have a chance. No, that's incorrect, bro. They still lose the game pretty handedly either way. Like Philly was just the better team. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and the Chiefs just couldn't do anything. You're not going to do anything. You're saying you're putting this on Mahomes. You're saying if you're the GOAT, you figure it out. No one in NFL history, including Tom Brady, would have won this game for the Chiefs. And because you know why that is? Because no one in NFL history, and this is proven, can win a game if the other team can rush four and cover the back end. It's impossible to win that game. Your offensive line has to hold up. If the one team can get to you could pressure and sack you 6 times without sending pressure once, you're not winning that game.
Well, no, I don't really agree, bro. If you see your offensive line is not blocking, you have to make adjustments to get the ball out quicker. And that's not what he was doing. He was standing in the pocket, just holding it. He was trying to like rush out after like standing there for too long. Like, bro, you gotta make adjustments if you see your line isn't holding up. And as the leader of the team and as the guy who they try to say is the GOAT, like I said, in situations like these, you have to figure out how to try and make things work because it's not about being the GOAT just when things are going your way. Even when they're not going your way, you have to try and figure it out. And Mahomes just simply didn't do anything. He threw 2 pick sixes, which led them to being down 24-0 at the half. And then from there, honestly, bro, I mean, it was just over. I mean, bro, 24-0, they're already down. And mind you, he's responsible for 14 of the points. Yeah, and like I said, he's not the only one to blame for this. The whole team is to blame, but he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. He was just as bad as everybody else, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, bro, I just disagree. I think if anything, this tells Mahomes' greatness. He made up for so much during the regular season that when you face a team that can rush four and get home generating pressure rushing four, there's zero quarterbacks in NFL history that wins that game. And that isn't my opinion. That isn't your opinion. It's not left up for discussion. That is a fact. There have been 9 teams in NFL history that have rushed four and generated pressure rushing four and hasn't blitzed the whole game. Those teams are undefeated. So again, that's not my opinion. The teams that rush four that can generate pressure, they win that game. They are undefeated in NFL history. That is a fact. So there is not one quarterback in NFL history that wins that game. That's point number one. And then point number two, well, that kind of goes over point number two because there is no quarterback that wins that football game. Not even immobile Tom Brady, right? You say, well, he could have, directed people to. I said the first thing, bro. I said, where's the slants? Where's the out routes? Where's the short gains? Where's the screens? Where's the, things of this nature?
Right.
Where was that?
Right. That's the stuff you got to do in situations like this, bro. But, Mahomes wasn't making any of those adjustments, bro. He was just snapping the ball and then getting sacked after 2 seconds. And then even a couple plays where he did have protection, he was holding the ball too long, and then he got sacked. Like, bro, like he just did a horrible job at executing.
In my opinion, bro, that's not on Mahomes. Like, yes, Mahomes can check to a play. He can do that. Of course he can do that. And I put the onus in on Mahomes. He needs to check to those plays. But the lion's share of the blame is on the coaching staff. They just looked ill prepared. I can't. I've never seen anything like this from a Chiefs led football team, an Andy Reid led football team, where they're not disciplined. They had multiple penalties to keep the drives going for Philadelphia, multiple drives, and it's just like it's boneheaded, stupid plays, and you just shake your head like, what are you doing? Pass interference on Snead. It's like the McDuffie got torched. It's like what am I watching right now? This isn't the Kansas City Chiefs. So no one came to play, but the biggest blame goes on Andy Reid and this Kansas City Chiefs coaching staff because the guys didn't look ready to play and they looked like they got out schemed. If you switch the quarterbacks and put Jalen Hurts on the Chiefs and you put Patrick Mahomes on the Eagles, this game goes very, very similar. That goes to show you it's not on the court. It doesn't come down to quarterbacks, bro. They killed the line of scrimmage. They got absolutely torched, right? And at the end of the day, guys were dropping passes, and so it's like you're not gonna win with that. You're just not, bro.
Well, yeah, Jalen Hurts wouldn't have won the game. But listen,
No,
Jalen Hurts doesn't have the expectations that Patrick Mahomes does, bro. He just doesn't, bro. Like when you're at that level of status that he is, bro, in situations like that is where you prove why you deserve to be called the GOAT. Like I said, bro, when Brady was down 28-3, for example, he figured it out and came back. Patrick Mahomes was down 24-0, and mind you, 14 of the points were on him as well. He never figured it out.
bro, you can't compare. You can't like you can't compare and say, well, in Brady's Super Bowl that he was down, he delivered, and then when Mahomes was down in his Super Bowl, he didn't deliver. You can't say that because there's a bunch of factors that play into it. Brady wasn't facing a team that can get to him rushing for, was he? No, he was not. The Atlanta Falcons were a below average defensive team that year. They got to the Super Bowl because that was Matt Ryan's MVP year. They were explosive offensively. This wasn't the number one ranked defense in the Philadelphia Eagles. This wasn't the number one ranked defense generating pressure. This wasn't the number one ranked pass defense. These were all the things that the Philadelphia Eagles were.
Well, you do have to look at the Eagles' defense. They were bad most of the year, but once December came, bro, they were dominant, bro. Like we saw it even all these playoff games, bro. Like they did it against the Commanders, bro. I mean, they got 5 turnovers and blew them out. They played great defense against the Rams. Like, bro, ever since the month of December started, they became a whole new football team, and they do got a couple of young guys on that defense, a couple of rookies who were probably figuring it out, which makes sense as to why they would break out more midseason because their young guys start to figure it out more. And that's when the defense kind of started clicking. So realistically, the defense that the Eagles had in the Super Bowl was not the same defense that they had in week one back in September. Like you can see the difference. And like I said, it makes sense because they also have rookies who are underdeveloping, trying to like understand more of how NFL offenses work. All of that goes into play. So it's realistically not the same defense, even though it's the same guys.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with some of that, but again, bro, it just comes down to you can't compare the teams if they're constructually different, bro. Like I think what this comes down to ultimately is, and I think anyone that can see this, the Kansas City Chiefs got out coached, they got outmatched, they got out schemed. It's not close, bro. Nick Sirianni out coached Andy Reid, and I think we have to take that into consideration when we're, dealing with what we just witnessed. I mean, I don't think anyone thought that we would witness a game like this where Kansas City Chiefs looked ill prepared. You must admit that.
Yeah, I mean they did, but Mahomes wasn't any more unprepared than they were. I'll say that much. So he does deserve blame for this as well.
Yeah, I think he does deserve blame. I think he played bad. I think he played bad, but I don't think I think that any quarterback under these conditions would play bad. That's what I think. And I'm not being, biased. My favorite player is Aaron Rodgers, bro. You know I love Aaron Rodgers. He's my favorite player all time. Aaron Rodgers would have got destroyed in this game. I love Tom Brady. He would have got destroyed in this game. I love Peyton Manning. He would have got destroyed. Like there's no quarterback that can thrive when you're generating pressure, rushing four, and now you have literally. I mean, you have seven guys in the backfield. Yeah, I mean, you have seven guys on the back end. That's hard to deal with, bro. Like you only have four guys running routes. Like, bro, it's tough.
Yeah, but like I said, bro, we've seen Mahomes in this same situation against Tampa Bay as well. That one, the eye test showed us that one actually wasn't on him because even though his line wasn't blocking, he was still finding a way to get the ball downfield. But unfortunately, guys just were dropping passes. So that one you can't even blame him for. But watching this one, bro, it was a similar situation. The only difference is he couldn't do anything about it this time.
All right. So, what do you think this does for Patrick Mahomes' legacy?
He's cooked. He's cooked. Let me tell you why, okay? Okay. So now the GOAT debate is officially over. And I'm going to explain everything right now. Okay. So first of all, we could go back to the two losses against Brady. Hmm. Tom Brady's the current GOAT. He lost to him twice. Can he be the GOAT? Okay, well, he's only played 3 years up to that point. Let's not exclude him just yet. Let's give him some time, okay? Point number one. Point number two, he got blown out twice in the Super Bowl. Okay, he got blown out twice. That right there, in my opinion, should give him a bit of a hit. This was the biggest choke in NFL history because there was a shot at history on the line. They had a chance to three-peat, and they went out there and he got brutally destroyed. Like I said, bro, at halftime he had 33 yards, basically two pick sixes and a donut on the scoreboard. Okay, so he played terrible. That's another point right there. To back it up, another thing that, in my opinion, gave him a hit on his legacy this season that did not include the Super Bowl. They won 15 games, and he was not a Pro Bowler. Like, people don't talk about this enough, but bro, if you're the quarterback of a 15-win team and you don't make the Pro Bowl, don't you start to question yourself like, damn, is it really this guy or is it more of everybody else? Okay. So being a quarterback in a 15-win team and not making it in, that's a bad look. Like, bro, you could even put like an average quarterback on a 15-win team and they probably wouldn't miss it. And Patrick Mahomes did. That's another point right there. And then on top of that, to top it all off, you could compare his numbers to Tom Brady's just in the Super Bowl, okay, where it matters most, okay. Tom Brady in the Super Bowl has in 10 games, 21 touchdowns, 6 picks, more yards, better completion, better QBR. He's ahead of him in every stat. While Patrick Mahomes in 5 games has 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Obviously, less yards, less QBR, less completion percentage, all that. So in half the games played, he has more picks in the game of the year. Okay, in the games of the year, he already has more picks than Tom Brady did in just half the amount of time. So clearly, on the bigger stage, when it matters more, Tom Brady is better, and that is another thing to take into consideration. So factoring in all of this, right? Factoring in all of this, I just don't see how you can even potentially even say he's in the GOAT debate anymore when you factor in all of this together.
Okay. Again, I disagree with mostly everything you said. The first thing, you cannot compare, and I keep trying to tell people this, and it's very frustrating, but you cannot compare and say, look at these numbers in the postseason versus look at these numbers in the postseason, because again, context matters, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Okay. So if Patrick Mahomes in the two Super Bowls that Patrick Mahomes lost, the offensive line has given up 11 sacks and 25 quarterback pressures. That is unbelievably bad in 2 games. Okay, that is they've given up 11 sacks in 2 games. Because people try to say, yeah, the discrepancy in the losses, like Mahomes has gotten blown out twice in the Super Bowl. We have to remember that Tampa Bay defense, that pass rush all year, they were dominant. But that defensive effort in the Super Bowl was ranked one of the best defensive games that was ever played. That's not my opinion. That is a fact. The second Super Bowl, which is now that Mahomes has lost, there's only been 8 other teams in NFL history that put on a display that the Eagles did. So clearly there's one common denominator here. You need an all-time great pass rush to beat Patrick Mahomes in the biggest stage. And if you don't, he is going to absolutely rip your heart out when it matters most. And we've seen it in the Super Bowls that he's won, and we've seen it in the regular season as well, where he had 8 comeback victories. Okay. So again, context matters. So people are going to try to, like Pete, he's going to throw the stats at you guys, but let's make it make sense here. In the 2 Super Bowls that he lost, it took a absolutely incredible and heroic effort defensively to beat Patrick Mahomes. That's the first thing. It's not like Mahomes just came to the game ill prepared and he was just throwing a bunch of picks around and they just couldn't figure it out. No, it took all-time defensive efforts to stop this man. That's the first thing. The second thing, I don't know how the hell you can say Patrick Mahomes is undisputedly out of the GOAT conversation because he couldn't three-peat. How the fuck does that make sense? If you agree with that, then you agree with the Michael Jordan people of the world that say, well, erase the 6 finals losses for LeBron. He still led this team to the Super Bowl. Now all of a sudden we're discrediting people that make the Super Bowl? Really? Do we know how hard it is to get? There's a reason why no team has ever three-peated ever. And we're going to hold that against Mahomes because he didn't three-peat. Let's not act like Brady's undefeated in the Super Bowl because he's not.
Can I make a comment on that real quick? Can I make a comment on that? It's not about the fact that he lost. It's the way he lost, bro. Like I said, bro, the stats are here. He threw 2 pick sixes and had 33 yards in the first half with a donut, bro. Bro, he was clearly responsible for this loss right here. So it's not just the fact that he lost, it's the way that he lost. I'm not saying he can't be the GOAT because he didn't three-peat, but the fact that he had a three-peat on the line and he played the worst game of his career to top it off, yeah, bro, this doesn't really sound like the GOAT to me.
No, I mean, again, people can say it's how you lost, but again, as I just eloquently broke down, it takes an all-time great defense to do so. So we can't ignore context. And that's not my opinion. Again, everything that I say, it's not an opinion, it's a fact, right? The Bucs, that game is ranked one of the best defensive games that was ever played in the National Football League. That's what it took to beat Patrick Mahomes. So as long as you preference Mahomes losing badly in the Super Bowl by saying that first, then I'm okay with that. But until then, you're incorrect. And then again, we are discrediting this man for winning 17 games with not 1,000-yard player on his team. We do realize that Patrick Mahomes is the first player to ever lead a team to a Super Bowl that hasn't had a 1,000-yard player in the last 30 years, meaning you can't do that in today's NFL. That's not supposed to happen. We all know that is not supposed to happen, right? So for him to lead this team to the Super Bowl with no 1,000-yard players at all, 8 comeback from behind victories, etc. Dude, it's inarguable that this season proved that Patrick Mahomes is the reason. How the hell, no matter how good, you could say the defense is good and all this other stuff, but he had to lead, he had to go down and march them to victory. If he didn't do that, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. They'd be a losing team. And that's what they are without Patrick Mahomes. They're a losing football team. If they didn't have him to score, to bail them out of 8-game winners, this would be a losing team. And so they have major issues to address, but I don't know how you walk away from that game and say Mahomes is inarguably not the GOAT anymore when you're basically discrediting a guy that made it to the Super Bowl. We've never done that before, but we some reason do that with LeBron James and Patrick Mahomes. And why is that? There's only one common denominator as to why we do this. Did anybody discredit Jalen Hurts? No. Did anybody discredit Joe Burrow? He didn't play excellent. He played good. He didn't play excellent, right? Do we discredit anyone that's lost? Peyton Manning had lost in a Super Bowl, right? Badly. He got destroyed against the Seahawks.
Well, yeah, people
it
do
wasn't
shit on him
close
for that. People do shit on him for that. They do.
I don't hear anybody shit on Peyton Manning for losing that Super Bowl. I hear people say Peyton Manning's arguably the greatest regular season quarterback ever, and they say he's top 3. And I think that's his peak. That's where he's maxed out. No one was calling him anything higher than that previous to that anyways. So it's not like Peyton Manning was in the GOAT conversation and then he had that and that stained his legacy. No, that didn't stain Peyton Manning's legacy at all. That didn't drop him at all. I think we all had him top five. That didn't change anything. But for some reason now with Mahomes, because he lost in a Super Bowl, right? Now all of a sudden this disqualifies him. This obviously doesn't disqualify him. If anything, this raises his case because of how bad this team was all year.
Yeah, he got the game-winning drives, but bro, look at the scores of those games, bro. They were scoring 17 to 20 points. Their offense was ranked, I believe, around 16th, 17th, 18th in the NFL
Yeah,
this
they
year.
were
They were around
average.
that range. And their defense was top 10. So their
Yes.
defense was, holding teams like the Raiders, the
Yes.
Broncos to 17 points, doing their
Yes.
job. And then they just told Mahomes, okay, the offense scored 13 points all game. Please just get us one score and seal it up. We did enough for you already. And I mean, that's what he did, bro. It doesn't sound like they're asking too much of him, to be honest, bro. Especially when
Yeah.
you consider that he has the greatest offensive schemer of all time on top of that. It doesn't sound like it's much to me.
Well, we can't have it both ways. We can't say that's easy to do and then simultaneously say, why didn't he do it in the Super Bowl? Obviously, if it was easy to do, he would do it, right? So that proves to you that it's hard to do. That I mean,
What, get a
it's
game
just
winning drive?
it. What I'm saying is to perform when it matters most. When the game on the line, you have to make a play, right? It doesn't matter if it's the final drive of the game or it's the second quarter and you're down 17-0 and you need a drive. You don't think Mahomes took that as this is the game winning drive here? I need a play. If we don't get this play, we're screwed. Of course he did. It's hard to do. It's hard to make plays. It's hard to throw the football. It's hard to do these things. I think as commentators like us or as people watching, you look at it from the standpoint of, well, why didn't he get it done? He has to deliver. Why didn't he get it done? And you don't look at it from a humanistic standpoint where you're saying, okay, they're getting to him in 2 seconds, rushing four guys, which means there's seven guys on the back end. What is he supposed to do in that scenario? His coach isn't scheming up plays to get guys open, which he has done all year. Travis Kelce's dropping passes. DeAndre Hopkins is dropping a wide open, I mean, naked open. I mean, not even close. And it's like, what is this guy supposed to do? And so I think there's a humanistic side to it as well, where you have to look at it and you have to say, I don't think any quarterback would have thrived under these circumstances. And even if you want to leave it up to your opinion, I know a quarterback wouldn't have thrived in this situation because it hasn't been done before in NFL history. So again, and this last thing I'll say before we move on to Jalen Hurts is that there seems to be a common theme here. To beat Mahomes, you need an all-time great defensive performance, and people blame it on Mahomes for not beating an all-time great defensive performance when no other team, no other player, no other team has beaten it in NFL history. We say he'll never catch Brady. Well, guess what? The Philadelphia Eagles were Brady's teams. They were dominant on defense. In Tom Brady's 20 years in New England, 15 times they had a top 10 defense. 15 times, 15 years they had a top 10 defense. And so take that into consideration when you're saying that Mahomes could never be the GOAT now because of a Super Bowl loss. That's like saying LeBron James could never be the GOAT because he lost in the finals. And if you say that, you just don't know basketball because you don't know how hard it takes to get to the finals in the first place.
Okay, well, look, the historic defense point, okay? All right, you want to say that that's how he lost in the two Super Bowls? Okay,
It
that's
is,
fine.
bro.
But bro, that's actually not true. You don't need a historically great defense to beat Mahomes because his losses outside of the Super Bowl were not historically great defenses. Like, I mean, we could go look at his AFC Championship game against the Bengals. He blew a 21-3 lead. That wasn't a dominant defense right there. The first
Bro.
time he lost to New England, like, it was a top 10 defense, but they didn't have, like, a front four where they're just getting to him every 2 seconds. He
So what
lost that one. Well,
so what are we doing? Are we nitpicking every single Patrick Mahomes game? Because are we forgetting that Tom Brady had a 10-year drought that he didn't win a Super Bowl. I mean, we can go and look at the games where he didn't perform as well. They were the number one seed and got shellacked, etc. So, like, bro, like this shit happens. We can't sit there and analyze every single game that these guys play. What I am saying is in the Super Bowl, which is the biggest game of the year, clearly the Super Bowls that Mahomes did not win, it took a absolutely historic defensive effort. That is not an opinion. That is a fact.
Okay, if you want to say that for the Super Bowl, that's fine. But I'm just saying it's been proven that he could lose without a front four getting to him within 2 seconds. It just
Of
hasn't
course,
been proven. It just hasn't been proven yet in the Super Bowl itself.
of course, bro. We could say that for we could say that for everybody. Everyone has is allowed to have an off game, but I don't go off opinions. I go off of facts. I go off of what's the truth, and that's just the truth. We can go to Brady's playoff games. There's been playoff shootouts that he's lost. There's been playoff games where he scored 10 points and lost. There's been games where he was the favorite and lost in the first round, and there's games where he lost in the Super Bowl as the favorite. So it happens, bro. Nobody is perfect. And to sit here and nitpick Mahomes' game like he has to be perfect in order to beat Brady is just not true. The same thing as LeBron James. People sit there and nitpick and try to say little things that Michael Jordan has that LeBron doesn't. You're nitpicking. We could go to playoff games that Michael Jordan didn't perform. We could go to playoff games that Michael Jordan did and they still didn't win. We could do the same thing with LeBron James. But all we can do is say in the finals, what did it take to beat these guys, right? And especially for Mahomes, it takes a heroic effort defensively. That's just the truth, bro. Right? But um, but yeah, we'll move on. That was a nice little heated debate there. So what does this mean? Now we're switching topics. What does this mean for Jalen Hurts' legacy?
I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion, bro. Super Bowl champion. He also won the Super Bowl MVP. I'm not gonna lie, watching this game, bro, when it came down to the Super Bowl MVP, you want to know what my thoughts were? This reminded me of the Bucks Super Bowl because the defense was so good that you're just gonna say, well, the defense was the real MVP. But
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, we can only give it to one guy. And since everybody was good on defense, you go to the other end to see who the difference maker was, and it was Jalen Hurts, just like it was Tom Brady for Tampa Bay. This is what this Super Bowl MVP race reminded me of. Basically the same exact thing. Now, what does this do for Hurts? I think now you have to say he's at least a top five quarterback. I mean, the top four in the game is Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Lamar. Up to you how you want to rank them, but that's the top four. And then I think fifth for the time being, you have to give it to Jalen Hurts, bro. I mean, he played a great NFC title game. He played a great Super Bowl. He has another good Super Bowl performance in the past. He's a good regular season quarterback. Last year it was a bit of a down year for him. He turned the ball over a little bit too much. But outside of that, he's a good regular season quarterback as well. He almost won an MVP a couple years ago. I think he's done enough to say that you could at least give him fifth for now. And then after fifth, it's like another gap. Then you could start putting the other guys like Daniels, Herbert, all the other quarterbacks of the world. But I think for now, you got to put him fifth.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think this does much for Jalen Hurts, unfortunately. And there's a thing called there's a thing called victim of your own success. And because Jalen Hurts' team is so good, I think this diminishes the credit just a little bit. And if you don't believe me, well, look at how they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. They won it with a backup quarterback by the name of Nick Foles. This team was similarly constructed, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, am I saying that Jalen Hurts is as bad as Nick Foles? I'm of course not. Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but what I'm saying is this doesn't shift the turn for me and say he is now a top five player because he won the Super Bowl. We all know he was not the most important player in that Super Bowl. We all know, like Pete said, it was obviously if you can give the MVP to the coaching staff in a game plan, I would give it to them. Like they played their ass off defensively and offensively as well. They were well prepared. So I have to give them most of the credit in this game. And Jalen Hurts did play well as well. He did play well. But what I will say is Um, because I go off of facts, not opinions. He did win the Super Bowl, and I could say other people could have stepped in and done the same thing. I do believe that. Yes, I do. I think if you replace him and put Joe Burrow or scratch the top five, put in other guys, put in Jaden Daniels, put in Jared Goff, put Jordan Love, put even CJ Stroud. I mean, I dislike him a little bit, but even put in CJ Stroud. Like, I think there's plenty of quarterbacks that could have won this game as well and probably would have looked better than Jalen Hurts with this Eagles team. But I can't go off of like that. I have to go off of the facts. And the facts are that Jalen Hurts did play well. So he does move up the ranks, in my opinion. I had him fringe top 15. I had him like the mid to slightly above average. I had him like in the Jared Goff, Dak Prescott, that area. I think you move him into the top 10 now. I think he belongs in the Justin Herbert and Jaden Daniels. Like, I think he belongs in that class where he's like there's a top five and then he's right outside the top five. But I don't think this does wonders for him in terms of we are now discussing him as a top five quarterback on the planet. I don't think anyone believes that with all their heart that Jalen Hurts is the top five quarterback. And so this does not move the needle for me much, but he does get into the top 10 in the Jared Goff discussion, in the Jaden Daniels discussion, but in the Justin Herbert discussion. But I don't think this moves the needle for me to move him into the top five and say he's on the Burrow and Lamar Thresh and Josh Allen. I don't think he's in that discussion. No.
No, no. I said that the Burrows, the Allens, they are in the top four. Like there's a gap after four. And then it drops down to Hurts. Because in my opinion, I the seven best quarterbacks in the game right now. I named the top five. After those five, it's Jaden Daniels and Justin Herbert. And then when you start getting to the eight-ish range, you start looking at these guys and it's like a big drop off. Like it's guys like Jared Goff, Dak Prescott,
CJ
Jordan Love.
Stroud.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. So after seven, it's a really big drop off, right? So if we know who the four best quarterbacks are, and then you got the next three guys after that, I mean, you look at what Justin Herbert and Jaden Daniels have done. Sure, they're good quarterbacks, but Jalen Hurts has done more than them up to now. So I think you have to put them above them for now, and that would put them at fifth. So that's why I'm saying you kind of have to give them fifth for now.
Yeah, we kind of agree. I mean, we just have the orders, a little different, but we kind of agree where he's not in the discussion. To me, he's not in the discussion for top five because when I say in the discussion for top five, I'm saying the five best football players, quarterbacks on the planet. And so I have obviously the monster four, and then I add in who's having the best year currently. So obviously you have your Mahomes, Joshy, Lamar, and Joe Burrow, and then you add in who's having that dominant season. For me, it was Jaden Daniels. I don't think that Jalen Hurts is better than Jaden Daniels. I get why people think that you have to put him there now, but I just think that for me, that doesn't move the needle enough to put him into to say he's in the top five discussion. But I do think he's a top 10 quarterback. And I don't think enough people are talking about this, but like Jalen Hurts may not be the best quarterback ever, and I have my doubts on Jalen Hurts, but he's the best quarterback for this situation. I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles have the tallest offensive line in NFL history. The Philadelphia Eagles have the heaviest offensive line in NFL history. Okay, so if you combine those two things together versus a guy who can squat 600 pounds as your quarterback, I mean, this is the perfect situation for them. You add in Devontae Smith, one of the best speed burners, and then you add in AJ Brown, who's a goal ball getter. And what is Jalen Hurts good at? Throwing the goal ball, right? So it's like this is the perfect constructual team for Jalen Hurts. I think if Jalen Hurts goes anywhere else, he doesn't have the success, right? But because he's on Philly, he has that success. I don't know if you agree with that, but I don't think if Hurts was in Green Bay or if he was in Seattle or if he was in Dallas or anywhere on these fringe playoff teams on the Texans, I don't think he moves the needle for them and makes them Super Bowl contenders, but I think he's the perfect quarterback for this team.
If you put him on any other team, depending where, I mean, the Texans, the Packers, for example, I think they'll still be like in the playoffs as they already are. Would they be a Super Bowl contender? I don't think Hurts would push them there necessarily, but I do think the teams would be a little bit better under him. They'd have a bit more of a chance, but I think those teams would probably still need a little more to win.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's what it does for Jalen Hurts. Like, see, and then my last question here, moving back to Patrick Mahomes, is can Patrick Mahomes ever become the GOAT?
No.
Okay. I disagree. I think obviously Patrick Mahomes can become the GOAT. What Patrick Mahomes has done in 7 years has never been done before in NFL history, including Tom Brady. And that's not my opinion. That is a fact. Patrick Mahomes
Mhm.
has Patrick Mahomes has the most wins in 7 seasons in NFL history. Patrick Mahomes has the best stats that we've seen in a 7 year span in NFL history. If you look at the touchdown to interception ratio, if you look at the passer rating, if you look at the Super Bowl appearances, if you look at the AFC championships, there has been no better winner in a 7 year span than Patrick Mahomes. 7 AFC championship games, 5 Super Bowl appearances, 3 Super Bowls. This has never been done before in NFL history. So if you're saying so far up until this point that Mahomes has been in the league, he's statistically and winning wise is the best quarterback that we've ever seen from the time that Mahomes got into the league. I don't think that's a far stretch of the imagination to say that that guy can be the GOAT. And what, like I said, that's not my opinion. Everything I said is a fact.
Okay. Well, I mean, people put him in the GOAT debate because of what he's accomplished up to now. But yeah, I mean, I already went over it earlier, guys. But everything that I factored in, like getting blown out twice in the Super Bowl, losing Brady twice, comparing the Super Bowl numbers, and which is where it matters most. When you just factor in all those things, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think you can say he's the GOAT. I just don't.
I'm not saying he's the GOAT right now, bro, but I'm saying he can still get to being the GOAT. That's my argument. Since Mahomes has been into the league, we have not seen a player in a 7 year span do what Patrick Mahomes has done since he's been into the league. So if I asked you who's the greatest quarterback in the world since in the first 7 years of their career, you're gonna say
Yeah,
Patrick
Mahomes.
Mahomes. Yeah. And so you're gonna say, okay, if he's on the trajectory, if this is the best resume, the best player we've ever seen up until right now, I don't think it's far fetched to say he has a chance to be the best ever eventually.
I think when you just go back and look at his career, even if he accomplishes more, and you just look at the things that I mentioned, I just don't think you can say he's the GOAT.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I disagree. If every single time, like let's say hypothetically speaking, and this is not far fetched because he's already done it 7 straight years. They've been in the AFC Championship. If let's say Mahomes plays 5 more years and he gets to 5 more AFC Championship games, and then he decides to call it a quits, but never makes another Super Bowl. I would argue that that's the best career ever because at that point, if he played 7, then he played another 5. That'd be 12. Okay, so he would have 12 in his 12-year career. He would have never not made the Final Four, the AFC title game. That has never been done before in NFL history, and that would, to me, go down as the best winner. Okay, because you're getting your team to the AFC champ. That's insane. That is insane. And so you can make the argument. So, like I say, Mahomes is just building his resume. We need to see it pan out. But right now, he's building his resume. And if we're saying that this is the best start to a career we've ever seen, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that he can possibly be the greatest we've ever seen. And I think it's kind of stupid to say he's no longer the GOAT because he lost in the Super Bowl. I think that's a idiotic take for LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And Jordan's never lost. And I still think that that's an idiotic take to say that LeBron can't be the GOAT because he lost in the finals. So if you peel that argument to the NFL, Brady's lost in the championship game. Brady's lost in the Super Bowl. So of course Mahomes still has a chance.
Well, yeah, bro, but it's about the fact that he got blown out, right? He got blown out. and it was the second time he got blown out. The guy he's also competing with to be the GOAT, I mean, he had his number both times they faced off. So it's more than just, LeBron, for example, losing a finals. Even if you want to say he choked against Dallas, it's more than that, bro. That was one choke. Like Patrick Mahomes, you look at the Super Bowls, he got blown out twice. He lost to the actual
But
GOAT
you're
twice as well.
but
So for LeBron, it's not really comparable in my opinion to Michael Jordan.
It's absolutely comparable, bro, because you just made the argument 20 minutes ago that you can't put the first L on Mahomes. So you admitted he didn't choke in his first one. So even if you agree he choked in this one, you made the same argument that LeBron choked in the 2010 finals, and you still said he had a chance. So now what it comes down to is, oh yeah, but Brady beat Mahomes head to head. Are we going to ignore the fact again, context matters. Brady when he played Mahomes in the finals or in the Super Bowl, the Tampa hit Tom Brady's defense played one of the best games in NFL history. That has nothing to do with Tom Brady. That's the first thing. And the second thing, and that was the Super Bowl. If we talk about the AFC Championship, jar my memory. Was that not Patrick Mahomes' first season starting in his career?
Okay. Yeah.
So okay,
Okay.
so one game, it was the first season of this guy's career. And the second game, it took a massive defensive performance, one of the greatest defensive performances ever, that had nothing to do with Tom Brady.
Okay. You
You
want to
you
make the
admitted
argument
to
about age? This was Tom Brady at 40 years old, at 40 and like
yes,
42 years old. Okay. So if you
yes,
want to make the age
of
argument,
course,
I could also use it for Tom Brady because it's not like the dude was in the middle of
of course.
prime. He was a
Oh,
grandfather. Mahomes was young. Okay. So that settles the age argument right there.
bro, it does not settle the age argument, bro. Because what you're saying is in the playoffs, what does it come down to, bro?
Comes down to a lot of things, bro.
It comes down to experience. Okay. A lot of times it comes down to you could be better during the regular season, but guess what? I trusted Matthew Stafford. I trusted Aaron Rodgers. I trusted Tom Brady, right? I trusted Patrick Mahomes now than I did, before, right? So when he was a rookie, when he was a pup. Okay. So you can't settle the age argument by saying, well, Tom Brady was 40. Tom Brady had better numbers in his 40s than he did in his 30s. Does anyone right now watching think that Tom Brady was a better overall player in his 40s than he was in his 30s? Of course not. Tom Brady was obviously better in his 30s than his 40s. So why did he have better numbers in his 40s? Because it's easier to put up numbers and it's easier to play football in today's game than it was when Tom Brady was 30. Okay, so that argument is there as well. So obviously, Tom Brady was putting up the numbers. Okay, and also as well, we have to take into consideration that this was Mahomes' first season starting in his career, and no one has ever won the Super Bowl when their first season starting with other than like Kurt Warner, I think it is. So
No, Brady won it his first season starting. He did.
it,
But
I don't
any
think he was. I don't think he was a rookie though.
no,
No, he
Mahomes
wasn't a
wasn't a
rookie.
rookie either. No, neither Brady or Mahomes were rookie. They were just first year starters, but Brady did win it. But anyways, I'm not gonna argue over that point. What I want to say though is I don't agree that Brady was better in his 40s. When you go look at his 30s,
I mean, that's what the
he
stats say. But I agree, he was better in his 30s. I agree. But what I'm saying is the stats say that he was better in his 40s. That's my combat argument for because you said, well, Tom Brady was 40. And I'm like, well, bro, he had better numbers in his 40s, but no one agrees that he was actually better. But what I'm saying is he had better numbers in his 40s, so he could still clearly put up numbers.
Yeah, I know, but that just comes to show you how great this dude was. Like, I mean, bro, he managed to play up until he was 45 years old. So, you know what I'm saying, bro? I mean, by 45, most quarterbacks have been retired like 4 or 5 years, and he was still out there playing great. So, like, if he's beaten Patrick Mahomes in his 40s when nobody technically agrees he was better then than in his 30s, then imagine if he was actually like in his prime and he was actually running into Mahomes every year. Well, like, what about then? So that's why I'm saying if you want to say it was a young Mahomes, well, you could also argue that with Brady. Okay, but you want to say Mahomes first year, that's fine. But bro, he gained the experience right after that because he won a Super Bowl. He did. He won a Super Bowl. And then regardless of how he lost to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, people are just gonna look back and say, yeah, he didn't beat him in the Super Bowl.
Not me.
He also didn't beat him in the AFC title game as another sample. And then, you look at the fact that he got blown out twice in these Super Bowls and the performance he put up in the past one, people are just gonna be like, yeah, unfortunately, he's just not the GOAT. I mean, Tom Brady never got blown out in the Super Bowl. The only time he
That,
did, he came back and won it.
bro, again, that's for people that are misinformed and stupid and don't understand the word context. When you understand the word context, you understand that the game is simple from this guy won, this guy lost, this guy like bro, like what are we teenagers? Like we're grown, bro. We have the ability to look at the situation for what it is and say, no, this is the context behind that though. Like if other players were facing this defense, it would probably end very similar, right? We have the ability to do that, right? And so I'm a facts guy, of course, but I'm also a context guy. You have to factor in the context of it. And when you factor in the context of it, you can't say Brady beat Mahomes head to. That's the dumbest argument of all time, anyways, because they don't even play each other. This isn't basketball. They play the defense. So, like, that's like one of the dumbest arguments that you can make, right? Is because, yeah, you have to perform, of course, but you don't play that guy. That's why the whole thing with like Josh Allen and he has to beat Patrick Mahomes, blah blah blah. It's like, dude, he's playing the defense. Okay, he's playing Spags, right? He like, bro, like he's not facing Patrick Mahomes, right? So that's not a valid argument at all, right? And even if you want to go with that argument, even though it's not valid, you factor in the context, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it was Mahomes' first year starting. So it's like, oh, you factor in context. Oh, that Bucks game was rated one of the greatest defensive uh, uh, games of all time. Oh, that makes sense why he got blown out. So all it does is take a little bit of context, and it's like, oh, that's the reason why. It's not because he could never catch Mahomes or he could never catch Brady, blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, no, just with a little bit of context, you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Or the amount of people that use context in these debates is very little, bro. That's why people go off of what happened because everything else is just conspiracy at the end of the day. I mean, there's people who think Michael Jordan could have won 8 championships if he didn't retire, but unfortunately, that never happened. That's just a conspiracy. So that's ultimately what it comes down to, bro. People don't go off conspiracy theories.
But it's not a
And
conspiracy theory. It's a fact, bro. I'm not saying coulda, woulda, shoulda. I'm saying what happened.
yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, bro. Ultimately, bro, people are just gonna look back at it and say, okay, that's cool, but he still didn't win. So how is he to go? That's what most people are gonna tell you, bro. That's
I
why
mean,
people. That's why people even use the finals record argument for LeBron and Jordan because they don't use the context.
right, of course, bro. But like that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying people can say what they want, but they're wrong. I'm telling you the truth. I don't give a damn what people are going to say. I care about the truth. And the truth is, just because LeBron lost in the finals, I'm not going to tear a guy's head off because he led a team to the finals that shouldn't have been there in the first place. The Kansas City Chiefs had no business being in the Super Bowl. They had to rely on Mahomes to have 8 game-winning drives. They didn't have 1,000-yard player at all. They should be in the Super Bowl. That's not supposed to happen in the modern day era, and it happened, right? And so I'm not going to shit on a guy for making the Super Bowl and losing. I'm never going to do that. Okay, dude, I give Jalen Hurts massive, massive credit for performing the way that he did in the Super Bowl. He was the only reason why I had him where I had him, or else he'd be worse on my list. But I gave him a lot of credit for that. So if you're going to go out there and ball out and perform, and get your team to the big game, you get massive credit for that, bro. I'm not going to discredit a guy for getting to the Super Bowl, right? I'll discredit a guy for maybe getting bounced in the first round as you win 15 games, or I'll discredit a guy for winning 12 games, the number one ranked offense, and then getting bounced in the first round, which we'll have that conversation later. But those are some of the accolades of Tom Brady. But I'm not going to do that, right? Because again, I'm not going to shit on a guy for getting to the big game and ultimately losing the big game because they faced an all-time great defense. And to me, and clearly not even to me, but just the facts. Those are just the facts, right? Um, but yeah, do you have anything before we jump off here?
I mean, I pretty much got all my points across already, so not really.
All right, guys. Yeah, so that's gonna do it for the show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. We're at an hour and 20 minutes in, so I hope you guys enjoyed, man. We had a heated debate about Patrick Mahomes, where he is on the all-time list, what happened during this game, Jalen Hurts' legacy. We broke it all down for you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back to you guys again. We're debating on doing a show tomorrow discussing Luka Doncic. He is going to play his first game as a Los Angeles Laker, bro. It's going to be really good. So we're debating on breaking that down for you guys tomorrow. If we don't, we'll do it on Wednesday for you guys. So you want to stay tuned for that. And again, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back to you guys again either tomorrow or Wednesday. And before you guys get out of here, I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe, guys. Help us to impact and to reach as many people as possible. Follow me on YouTube and Rumble, guys, at Kurt's Philosophy. And then we'll talk to you guys again on Tuesday or Wednesday. All right, guys. Peace.